Good morning and welcome to another episode of Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market, where Sunday they've got the smokestack going.
They do.
Pork sandwiches.
16 hours of slow-smoked pulled pork. I will hug you for a smokestack. I seriously will.
We're at PNC Park, as you can tell here. Our minds are never too far from hockey, especially as active as the Penguins have been over the last 72 hours. Let's start with the new guy, Brandon Tanev, coming from Winnipeg. This dude just asked me, seriously, as we were walking over here, he goes, you know anything about this Tanev guy?
Listen, I'm being facetious. Obviously, if there's anybody outside of Manitoba who knows anything at all or everything at all about the Jets, it's this guy. So I'm going to defer to you. Tell me what you know about Tanev.
Well,
all I know is I have 10 photos of him.
Well, that's actually the first thing I was going to mention. You shot 2 games between the Penguins and the Jets last winter. One was in Winnipeg, one was in Pittsburgh. And you will not get lots of photographs of players who are not on the puck. And you just happen to go through your film, and he's everywhere. That's who Brandon Tanev is.
Yeah, no, he's buzzing. I included a couple photos of him checking against guys like Phil Kessel, checking against Sidney Crosby, pinning him against the boards, really. So, I mean, he's an active guy. He's going to be a guy he's going to be everywhere. He also scored, I believe, out in Winnipeg. He either scored or assisted. I had him celebrating and shooting and in the fist bump line. So he's got some of that.
I mean, that's the thing. When you're talking about someone who is fast, who is sturdy, he's got a 6'1" 180 build, but he doesn't get hurt. He's constantly putting himself into positions to get hurt, and he doesn't. So he's durable. And then you go with the 14 goals and the 15 assists, even though he hadn't a prayer of getting onto either of Winnipeg's top 2 power plays. He had some good line mates there, but dude, I follow the Jets social media and Jets fans.
We know.
And they're unhappy about this. I mean, he didn't make much in Winnipeg last year, 1.15, and I guess they thought he would just come back for nothing. There was a market for him. There were several teams that were after him. The Penguins paid the price they needed to pay. While we're at it, let's talk Alex Galchenyuk.
Might as well.
Who's also new. Now, he is not that player. He is fast. He's way more skilled than Brandon Tanev, but he doesn't have that toughness, that in-your-face and whatever, and we'll see.
Is it fair to say that he's kind of a younger, not as productive Phil Kessel?
No. You know who I would liken Galchenyuk to? And I say this in both the good and the bad senses. I see him as a left-handed David Perron. Now, if you get the David Perron that we just saw,
or that Vegas saw,
out of his mind, or that Vegas saw, good point, for the Blues in the final, then yeah, but you don't get that Perron, and I think that's part of what has been the knock on Perron for a long time. Galchenyuk is very talented. He's never really settled into one position. Some of that is not his fault, but some of that is. I don't know, man. I just see the trade bringing Galchenyuk and the defense prospect over, and I just think of it more as subtraction than I do addition. But what do you think of Galchenyuk?
Yeah, I kind of look at it the same way, because you're talking about giving up, that point per game, high goal ceiling, power play kind of guy. For somebody else who can really shoot, the problem is
he really can shoot.
No, he really can.
I mean, he
shoot.
Can pick it. When people see him pick one, they'll go, whoa.
But the problem, though, is that in Pittsburgh, you don't see a lot of Montreal games. You don't see a lot of Arizona games. So you're not – I don't know that everybody's going to just be immediately familiar with his style of play, but every game that we've seen him play, I'm surprised I didn't have more photos of him, because he's a guy who's always on the puck looking to shoot.
He is. That's fair. I mean, he's a guy that can manage the puck, control it. He's not irresponsible, but at the same time, he's not any defensive stalwart either. I think – let's put it this way. My thinking on Galchenyuk is if he comes in and Mike Sullivan and everybody really, really, really gets through to him, then they'll have something. If not, he'll depart as a free agent after the season. All right, we've put off Phil long enough. Thoughts?
He played a lot of games in a row in the National Hockey League.
He did.
No, he's still going to continue that. Phil Kessel, he's a guy that, in all of the live cues that we've had, he comes up. Both yours, mine, everybody who's covered hockey, even Dale's probably gotten questions about Phil Kessel. What's going to happen with Phil Kessel? I don't think that they were ever going to trade him for anybody that could come in and replicate the type of points that he could.
I mean, let's be honest here. Nobody thought they would get this.
Yeah, I think the big return...
I didn't.
The big return in the future is obviously just the wealth of defensemen that the Penguins have been able to cultivate, and they're continuing down that. I hate losing a guy who, for 2/3 of last season, was just playing really hard, really good hockey and scoring a lot of points. I love losing the guy who, in the last third of the season, couldn't find the back of the net, seemed non-existent on the back check.
Didn't shoot.
Just wasn't involved.
Yeah, it's
at
not
all.
that he was getting stoned. He just stopped shooting.
Just deferring on the power play.
And, I don't want to turn this into a, let's bash Phil on the way out here. I think that he'll hold a special place here for a lot of people for a long time. He's going to be one of those guys that, like, when they have the 10-year reunions or the 20, he'll be one of those that comes out with his hair all over the place, like that picture you ran.
Yeah.
that was on top of our site when he was traded. And everyone will just give him one of the loudest, most fun roars, and I think that's the best way to remember what he contributed here. But for this team, where it is right now, who's the player I've been citing again and again and again that the Penguins need to get more of? Jared McCann. They needed to get younger, faster, more irritating, harder to play against. Galchenyuk doesn't fit that, but Phil's exit does. Brandon Tanev definitely does. Dominic Cahoon, in a different way, kind of does, because he's a really, really smart puck possession guy, which Sullivan always includes.
Yeah, like that other Dominic guy, right?
Yeah, that's right. Way to bring that up and tick everyone off, Sunday.